On today's Solo Sunday news, the real reason the Young Bucks have been off AEW television, Bryan Danielson says odds are he will have neck surgery by the end of the year, Tony Khan teases the most important announcements in AEW history, and AEW have apparently signed the nephew of a wrestling legend. Hello everyone, I am Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling on my own. Yes, do not adjust your television, YouTube sets wherever you are in the world. It is a Solo Sunday. We're here. We're kicking ass, and I'm definitely not hungover. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about wrestling because we got some interesting news that has dropped over the last 24 hours. And the first thing we're going to talk about is all to do with the Young Bucks. And the Young Bucks, obviously big deals in AEW, the EVPs, all that stuff. They are... Well, we're not really sure 100% what they're going to be doing at All In at this point, but we're pretty sure they're going to be there, in some capacity, surely. But a big thing that a lot of people have noticed on the road to All In is that they've not really been on television all that much. They've had a few big appearances, like your Blood and Guts and things like that. But as AEW World Tag Team Champions, they've not really defended the belts an awful lot, and they've just been kind of here and then not here. It's a bit of a strange one, but we've now had a bit more information on this as to why that is happening right now, and it was from Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer. He's spoken about this on the Brian and Vinny show. He said this recently, and this is a big old detailed explanation, so bear with me, but I'm just going to lay it all out there. So he said, listen everybody, you think that the Young Bucks book their own stuff? They don't. If you're upset about the Young Bucks not being on TV, if you're upset about the Bucks not defending their tag team titles, there is one person you can be upset at, and that's Tony Khan. Because whatever contract they signed, it was for X number of dates, and he has not wanted to pay them. Maybe he's got some plans for the end of the year, or they use the number of dates at the beginning of the year. I don't know what it is, but it isn't the Young Bucks deciding, hey, we're going to take the summer off and not defend our tag team titles. He continues that, he was still going into a lot of detail on this. He said, it's like Brock Lesnar. Remember when people got mad at Brock for never showing up? Somehow Brock was calling the shots. He had X number of dates. They didn't want to pay him for extended periods of time, so they told him to stay home. And then when they wanted him, they called him, and he came back to work. That's exactly what the Bucks will do when they get the call. So yeah, it just seems like right now they are just waiting for the call, aren't they? If they've signed that contract and it doesn't mean they have to show up every single week, then more power to them. Great. They're getting paid and they're not having to show up as much, and it's just the deal they've worked out, I guess. And if that's what Tony Khan wanted to do, he wanted to put those titles on people that he knew probably weren't going to be around as much as more full-time players, if you want to call them that. That was Tony Khan's call. So there you go. Just if you're annoyed at that, that's just what he's done. It's not the Young Bucks' fault. They've just been turning up and doing what they're told, but they will be turning up apparently on this week's Dynamite. That's a thing that's been announced now, that the Young Bucks are going to be defending their tag team titles against the Acclaim. So that's going to be interesting, seeing if they actually manage to make it out of that match on August 14th, if they manage to make it out of that with the belts, whether that'll have some kind of effect on what goes down at All In. We'll have to wait and see. They've got us hooked. We will see what goes down in that match. So that's what's going on with the Young Bucks right now. But what about Bryan Danielson? What's going on with Bryan Danielson? It's another big AEW person that's very much been in the headlines over the last couple of weeks, months, throughout the last year really, because he's been having his full-time retirement tour thing that he's been doing. So that's been a big old talking point. But on Collision, that happened yesterday night. My days are all blurring together. So on Collision, he had a sit-down interview with JR similar to what Swerve had, I believe, on Dynamite. So, just very cool. It's always nice to sit down having a chat with good old JR. And they were talking about a lot of things, talking about his career, his life, all this stuff. And then one of the big takeaways coming out of this was Danielson talking about his neck. Because, yeah, he's had a lot of history, hasn't he, with neck, head injuries, all that stuff. So he said within this interview, and even the way I feel right now, odds are I'm going to have to get neck surgery before the end of this year. That's the reality of it. And that's kind of something I have accepted. It's coming down the pipe relatively soon. So that's a big one, isn't it, really? Because it's interesting with this because Danielson is one of the greatest of all time. He's also an incredibly good worker, so he could just be leading us on, lying to us, and just upping the stakes for the match. So we sat there going, "No, Swerve, don't hurt him. It's his neck. It's in so much pain already. Don't break it. Don't break it." He might just be doing that, and it's worked because I'm already getting a bit anxious, thinking "Oh, Danielson, I don't want to see you get injured in Wembley. That's not something any of us want to see." or this could be legit, and this could be something where they're going to have to work around it. And like there has been a lot of conversation, I believe, recently of like people saying that AEW have been like protecting him and just like putting restrictions on him in the lead up to this match, just to save him from himself more than anything when it comes to Bryan Danielson, because he's a madman, he'll just do whatever. But it seems like he is a bit beaten up, and like fair enough, he has been running relatively hard in AEW since he's been there. Like he's just done all the things that he didn't really get to do within WWE for so many years, like just kicking loads of ass and being really brutal and violent. But now that's starting to catch up again, and yeah, they're wrapping him up in cotton wool, really, is the feeling I'm getting watching him on television and hearing all these stories coming out. So I don't know. I'm curious about this one. Do you think it's real? Do you think he is actually like gonna need potentially surgery at the end of the year, or is he just working us? I love that we love a thing like the wrestling world that can make us question that. If someone says, yeah, I think I need surgery, like we're the kind of people who go, do you really? It just makes you question an awful lot of this business, because people lie to sell things. That's just the way it works. They lie to promote matches. We've seen it enough over the years. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. Danielson, Strickland, add all in for the world title. If Danielson loses, he retires, he's put his career on the line. It's exciting. It is exciting stuff. I cannot wait to see it. And speaking of exciting things on the horizon, coming very soon, very soon, apparently some big announcements, important announcements, according to Tony Khan, because he just likes really putting over these announcements, and then some of them are really incredible and others maybe not worth the hype, but we'll let you decide when this one does eventually drop. He said on X, on Twitter, whatever you want to call it, he said, "Thank you all who watch AEW as we approach indelible times in our history with All in London at Wembley Stadium, weeks away, and the most important announcements in AEW history looming large now." So he said that, I think that was yesterday, yeah, because that was in the lead up to Collision. So he's mentioned that. And we've seen, like I said, we've seen over the years, he's done this a lot, Tony. Like he loves promoting, he loves selling these big announcements that are coming, and then sometimes they're great. Like sometimes you get massive things, like I don't know, like the Collision becoming a thing, like or CM Punk returning, like wow, that's a really big announcement. Other times it's not as, I don't know, or people just don't react as well. I always remember the Christian Cage one, which is hilarious now, like looking back, because of how great Christian Cage has been in AEW. He was hyped up as this massive announcement. And then when he did finally arrive, like, well, he hyped up like a wrestler arriving in AEW, and then when that wrestler finally arrived, a lot of people were like, oh my god, it's going to be Brock Lesnar or Kurt Angle, whatever it is. And it was Christian, and a lot of people were like, oh, okay, great, but not as exciting as what it was built up to be. But then he proved you all wrong, so I don't know with this kind of thing. I've jabbered on a lot there about announcements, but you know the history of announcements in AEW, so we'll have to see what this one is. I mean, there's been a lot of talk that this could be something to do potentially with like the next TV rights deal, because AEW have, they are still in talks with Warner Brothers Discovery, and that's apparently recently their exclusive negotiating window like ended, so that's a thing as well. But they are still in talks with Warner Brothers Discovery, and that could be made official. That could be the big news. That would be massive news. Like if that's announced, that'll be huge for the company going forward. It could change a lot of stuff, so that would definitely fall into the important news announcement category. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm very intrigued. I want to know. You let me know in the comment section what you think that announcement is, or do you just like, yeah, if you're excited about it, or if you're at a point where you're like, I don't trust you, Tony, I just want to see what it is before I get excited. Like, and that's fair enough as well. So the last thing we're going to talk about, you're probably very tired of listening to my voice on a Sunday at this point, but I promise it's nearly over. Tony Khan and AEW have apparently signed the nephew of a wrestling legend. Yeah, a wrestling legend. His nephew signed with AEW. My brain is just shutting off right now. So yeah, this was like reported just before AEW Collision kicked off this week, and it was reported by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, because they dropped their reports, and they said that Tommy Billington, who is the nephew of the Dynamite Kid, of course, has reportedly signed a contract, a new contract with AEW. So that's really exciting stuff. He's had a few pretty cool, like awesome show-ins against like Dax Harwood and Takeshita. Like they've had some incredible like matches there, and he's obviously impressed. He's impressed a lot of people. He's impressed myself when I've seen him on Collision. I'm like, yeah, this guy looks like the real deal. I want to see more of him. I want to see him like flourish and become like just a new star within AEW, a new young star. It's always good to see. And also, it's been said, so that was mentioned within this report that a lot of talent close to Tommy have said that he's been signed by AEW like after the appearances and everything else. That's always good stuff. But there was also a bit of information within this report that said that WWE and NXT were also somewhat interested, and they'd expressed an interest in the talent, but in the end he didn't really want to go there. Clearly, he obviously like wanted to sign with AEW. They've also said that when it comes to Mark Billington, who's the other half of the Billington Bulldogs, they're a tag team together. He was apparently injured in December during a match for Dungeon Wrestling. So yeah, we're not really sure what's going on with Mark at this point. But yeah, it's not been fully confirmed by AEW yet. They've not like gone on X or Twitter and gone like, yeah, Tommy Billington is All Elite and done all that stuff yet. And they've not, also Fightful haven't heard if the deal is a full-time one or a tiered one or per appearance deal, whatever it is. Like they've not heard that yet. But right now, it's a good thing for him. Great. Like he's going to get some money and he's going to be appearing hopefully on AEW television quite frequently. I'd like to see him on Collision a lot more because I think it'd be great. It's a good place right now for people to just get the reps in really on television, because it's not as high profile as your Dynamites or like Raw, SmackDown, whatever it is. Like it's a place where people can just hone the craft a bit more and work with some incredible world-class wrestlers, but still be on television and learn that skill. Because it's a completely different skill being on television just to being at like a live show and on the independent scene, whatever it is. So I'd like to see him a bit more and develop a bit more on a Collision and then see where he goes from there. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, that has been your Sunday news. We made it. And my brain only shut off like 5 times in that. That's pretty impressive. I'm going to take that as a win. So let me know in the comments right down below what you think of all these stories, all the big announcements that could be coming, this new signings, Danielson's neck apparently being very much banged up and destroyed, and the Young Bucks. Yeah, the Young Bucks not being on television because like of their contract, their dates within their contract. Let me know what you think of all that stuff. Follow us at What Culture Wrestling and follow me at gmorgan04. I think I had to question myself there, even though it's my own damn handle. And yeah, just have a good day, really. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and we'll see you very soon, hopefully. And hopefully a lot of you are coming to Wembley, to All In. I'll see you there, because I'll be there at the live show. I'm going to be saying hi. I'm going to be actually in the flesh, and they're letting me around people for a change. That's going to be a fun experience for all of us. So yeah, that's going to be cool. Hopefully you have a cool Sunday. It's nice and bright where I am in the world. Hopefully it's sunny and lovely where you are. Even if it's not, just put some wrestling on and let the good times roll. You're going to have a good time. See you later.